Hello, it's Friday and we're with Charline Arends, who is a counselor, a mom, a wife, a homemaker, a daughter, and I don't know how many caps you wear, Charlene, but thank you for sharing with us today.
Thank you, Cindy. So like Cindy said, I have a lot of different things on my plate, and God has blessed us in many ways, and God has challenged us in many ways. 2020, my husband and I joked that, 2020 would be the year of clear vision and the year of uh, perfect sight or something like that. Well, for us, January started off with my husband being in a motorcycle accident at the end of January and shattering his collarbone and needing to have surgery. We were lucky that he wasn't severely injured other than shattering his collarbone, and we knew he would be out of work to repair and heal up from this. So we thought that's okay. My schedule, as a marriage and family therapist and in private practice, I could set my own hours. So I'll just increase my hours and take on more clients, and that will offset what we need to do. Well, and also with FMLA and Washington Family Paid Leave Act, this year started the new act for parental leave. So as soon as we filed, we got a statement saying your case will be delayed because we weren't expecting 20,000 people to file in the first month. So
Wow.
here we were thinking we were going to get payments weekly to offset my husband's income. And only a week and a half ago did we actually start getting those payments. So we're sitting with FMLA, figuring that out, me adding my hours, and then we add on this virus.
Hmm.
And in March, then of course, everything stops and all the kids have to come home. I have an 11-year-old daughter who is in 5th grade and twin 9-year-old boys in 3rd grade. And as many of you know, one of the twins, David, is nonverbal autistic. So this upended his entire world. He's in a self-contained classroom with lots of supports and therapies, and that suddenly changed him. His twin Dylan is in regular classes, but has dyslexia and suffers from a couple of other learning disabilities. So this radically changed his schooling.
Hmm.
So then we bring the kids home. My husband's still recovering from shoulder surgery and cannot do much to help the kids out other than sit and listen to them read or try and do some math. And so now we're trying to set up 3 classes, 3 expectations of different teachers. And actually for Dylan, he also had not only his regular teacher, but his reading teacher and his occupational therapy teacher. And so they only until 2 weeks ago did they get in sync. Otherwise, Dylan had homework that if he had done it all would have taken him 8 hours to do.
Oh, wow.
So we kind of picked and chose for Dylan because he was in tears. And Dylan is my real social butterfly. And so this sudden change to, you can't go see your friends started mentally affecting him a lot.
Hmm.
Eliana, because a lot of her anxiety comes around social situations, she's blossomed and she's getting her work done amazing. And then we had poor David going, I want to go to school. And he's asking for school and he's asking for his bus and he's asking for his shoes. And we started having him escape multiple times out of the yard, to the point we actually had police stop us and say, David is not allowed outside at all without a parent or a guardian right there.
Oh.
And then they actually ended up calling Child Protective Services on us. Through all of this, we were in the process of building a fence, but because Dale injured his shoulder, he couldn't do the fencing stuff. And I'm still working with a large caseload because I wasn't expecting children to come home.
Hmm.
My hours had to suddenly change. Well, of course, this crisis has meant a lot of anxiety, not only in children and adolescents, but I have parents that are now anxious. And I do a lot of work in disaster and trauma response. And so now I have doctors and nurses and paramedics that are all suddenly on the front lines of something that they never thought would be a war at their own home.
Wow.
And so I'm trying to balance out and was starting to get 10 to 15 calls for new clients a day when I already didn't have any more room in my schedule. And so by prayer, we started going, okay, God, what are you going to do here? Because we need a fence. And David, because he's not understanding, he's escalating and crying, tantrums, and self-harm. And we weren't sure how this was going to work. And Dale wasn't given the clear out to go back to work, and yet we still weren't getting the FMLA money. And so we started praying. We had lots of people praying. And then several people started offering, how can we help get you a fence? I said, we have all the materials, we need the manpower. Of course, during this virus time, we weren't getting the manpower. And then finally, last Saturday, we had a group of, my husband rides motorcycles, so he has a group he rides motorcycles with. Those men and women came out and said, hey, we're going to come build you a fence. We understand COVID, we understand need for social distancing, but you need a fence. And so this group had a couple of general contractors that brought out their trucks worth of tools, professional tools, and in a matter of a full Saturday from 9 a.m. to about 4 or 5 p.m., we had a large number of people that came out and built us this fence
Wow.
and completed building us a secured area for David. And ironically, towards the end of that day, we had a few more sections that we needed to put some boards up, but we brought David out so he could thank these people and he could play. And so he came out on the trampoline. There were a half a dozen people in the yard still. And I went back inside for some reason, and I came back out and asked Dale, where's David? And he's like, he's with you. And I said, no.
Oh, no.
And it was shocking that with just a turn and people in the yard, people right there, David is quiet enough that he snuck out the little tiny section that hadn't been quite completed yet. Luckily, all these people fanned the neighborhood and we knew exactly where he went. There's a couple that just lived down the hill of a cul-de-sac, and they're an amazing older couple that David has apparently visited them before. They have this wide DVD selection, and David loves movies, and he loves movie cases, and he loves DVD. And so he went into their house, and he was looking at movies, and they were talking very calmly to him. And Dale went down to grab him, and I chased down after Dale and David, and they said, you know what, David, you choose one movie and you take it home. And then when you're ready for a new movie, you can come back. And this couple that we never knew before has decided that they're going to do a video library for David. So that David learns to appropriately do this. And so they've set it up. We're going to work with the therapy team, and David gets to go somewhere. And he gets to do something he really likes. And he gets to learn how to do this safely and appropriately. And so that was another way that God has really blessed us, is that instead of cringing that, oh no, David's running into homes and he's going after something we don't have much control of, David gets to learn to do this the right way.
Oh,
And
that's so awesome.
it is, it's awesome. And David has tested the fence, but so far, no more escapes. And he is settling in so that David loves to be outside. So he gets to play outside. And in fact, last night I went to check on him and he was on his trampoline and he gently pushed me away and said, "Go in, please."
Wow.
And so we're getting these words, and it's amazing to watch these words. And through all of this, we're thinking, man, God, you're hitting us hard. You took Dale out of work. You took away some income here. You brought the kids home, and everyone's stressed out, and we don't get this. And then Dale's feeling almost survivor's guilt because he works in an emergency room. And so he's worried about all of his coworkers and they're being on the front line. And he's not there and feeling like he's glad he's not there, but he really wants to be there to support them. And I had to switch most of my practice to Zoom and work at that. Well, with little kids, that's really hard to do. So in the last 2 weeks, then I've started bringing at least the children back in, which means I have to take all the safety precautions and try and help children to understand certain toys we can't play with right now as we try and work through trauma and anxiety. And all of this heartache has also turned around to, this is the most Dale's been at home with the kids. And so the kids have been able to see Dad and talk to Dad. And they get to sing with Dad because Dad plays guitar. And so David gets to go up and he wants Daddy to sing. And David likes to snuggle in bed with Dad. And Dad has a much better way of how to teach Dylan to read than I do. Daddy and Dylan are building up this great relationship. And Aliana and Dad get to talk about all sorts of different things. And so through all of this, our relationships have deepened. And I'm still kind of running around like a chicken with their head cut off, making sure everybody's on their Zoom meetings at the same time and juggling not only my schedule, but then each of the kids have their Zoom meetings and their homework. And we have charts all over the kitchen as to homework's due when and which Zoom meetings are for which days of which child. And Dale is now back to work. And it's, and we talked about what can we do with that in regards to safety. And do we have him isolate or not? And then we realized that this is really no different than Dale was exposed to a lot of very contagious things before. And always before, you just took the precautions of no hugs, let me strip down, let me go take my shower, let me clean the clothes. So we realized that we didn't have to worry about this because we were already doing these things. And so other than some major hiccups that were very stressful, we also realized that God's given us the strength already, and God's already gave us the answers. And we just needed to sit back, and instead of getting caught up in the storm, we just had to sit back and realize we got this. We already know. We've been doing this. And so that was a much nicer way that now as I continue to work and see people and they're frantic, I am able to be calm and tell them, wait a minute, it's okay. What do you already know? What do you already have? And I see people of all faiths and religions. And so those that are Christian, I can help them base it back on rest in God. Because God already did this. He's already been here with us. And so give him that sense of being in control. Those that aren't, then I can challenge them to look at what else is out there, because the world has gone through these pandemics before. we've been through scary places before,
Mhm.
and people have made it through. So how do you get to make it through? And so it's been a nice way that as a professional, I have to be very careful of if I can talk about faith and religion or not, but I can still bring to people this sense of peace
Nice.
and sit with them in the trauma and with the questions. And Dale has lost a couple of friends due to this virus, and Dale has lost a friend due to domestic violence because of this. And helping people realize that we can, Dale has to comfort them on the medical end as they're coming in and they're struggling and they're fearful, or they're coming in for a simple wound
Mhm.
and reassuring them, you're okay, we got you. You're not going to catch a virus here because we've made it safe.
Nice.
And so being able to recognize that we help each other, and we're meeting a lot more of our neighbors and talking with our neighbors and rebuilding that sense of community of, I don't need to judge you. You don't need to judge me. How can I help you today? What do you need today? And I think that's one of the best ways that I've seen God working, is that idea of just today, what do I need? And what can I give to somebody else today? And that's been nice to bring it back to simplicity.
That is fabulous, Charlene. Thank you so much for sharing all that. You've told me things I never even thought about. Uh, so I just thank you and bless you.
No problem. Thank you for the opportunity to do this.
You're welcome.